Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/bonfireside chat. Over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Praise the sun.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name's Kole Ross.
My name is Russ Frushtick.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat, an undead favorite.
Yes, and as you just heard, our special guest this week to discuss Darkroot Garden and the Depths is Russ Frushtick from Polygon.com. Hi, Russ.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Hi, Russ.
So this is exciting. I should mention, you probably already know this, but when we set this up, I was very much the Dark Souls newbie. I had never played the game. It took me about a year and a half to finally bite the bullet and buy the game. And I can safely say that I really, really enjoyed it. But thank you for having me on. I will probably lack the background that you guys have, but I'm sure you'll help me out.
That's perfectly fine. A lot of our guests so far have been relative newbies. You know, that's going to fall off as we get a little bit into the rest of the game, but kind of that fresh perspective, like we want people who aren't jaded and just callous to everything the game has to offer. Right.
Sure.
So, why don't you, what do you do, Russ? Tell us a little bit about yourself for us and for the audience.
So, I'm one of the founding editors of Polygon.com, which is a gaming website created by Vox Media. Other sites of theirs include The Verge and SB Nation. So this is, they've done sports, they've done tech, and this is their entry into video games. Before I was with them, I worked at MTV News, running their multiplayer blog for about 2 years, and then before that, I worked at UGO, which ironically enough, just closed today. So, my first job out of college, and it is no more. But that's pretty much my history in the industry.
Yeah, your pod career. If our listeners would like to explore your work further, you do the Besties over on Polygon, which is a hilarious show.
Thank you. We've been doing it since it's been a little over a year now, I would say. And essentially the hook is that, well, it's there's really no theme to it. I think we change the rules every week. But currently, the theme is that we all of us essentially agree to play certain games each week. And so long as we have two people that have played the game, we can have some meaningful discussion. Right. And we pick those two games to just sort of riff on it. And we used to pick winners, but we no longer pick winners. Now it's just fun and silly and try not to take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah. Well, it's a good time.
And now you guys are the besties. The games aren't the besties, but you guys are besties.
See, it's a double meaning, I think.
Yeah. It was a versatile title.
Yeah.
Dual illusion system. Yeah. So again, thanks for joining us, and we'll go ahead and get underway. The last episode, we killed the gargoyles and we explored the rest of the burg. Killing the Capra Demon and finding the key to the sewers. Before proceeding further into that, though, this would be a good time to check out the crazy wooded area that was so tempting to us near the blacksmith. So we're going to look at the Darkroot Garden.
Yes.
So we've already killed that giant monster with the lightning staff. Is he toast, or am I jumping ahead?
He's not toast yet.
Okay,
we're going to talk about
spoilers. Spoilers. I'm sorry.
Spoilers for a couple moments in the future.
So if you don't want that spoiled for you,
end of the sentence.
If you don't want that spoiled for you, jump forward 30 seconds and then jump back 50. Wait, what? Oh, man. Yeah. A lot of people, they go to the garden, before they do anything else. It kind of seems like the obvious choice after you ring that bell. Getting to the depths is really kind of difficult. Getting to the lower berg, it's incredibly non-obvious. So this is really just a matter of convenience, because we needed to do Darkroot Garden before the depths or Blightown, because that moss is mighty tasty.
Mm-hmm. So, and it's one of the few areas you have early access to that doesn't immediately punish you for doing so.
Right.
By the time you find Darkroot, you're pretty well equipped to fight most of the enemies in it.
Yeah.
And the boss. It's kind of a an alternate early area, for something that's not required until later.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Can I admit, sorry, because you mentioned the early areas that you might go to. I will admit right here that I died on the catacomb skeletons about 30 times when I started the game. So whereas the Darkroot Garden I found much more manageable.
Yeah.
We'll get to it when we do the catacombs episode, but I think that there's a lot of evidence that the catacombs was supposed to fall kind of earlier in the sequence than it does. Mm-hmm. Mostly because of the boss being so easy, and because the reward for it, the rite of kindling being so useful early on, and because you can go to it after you get the divine ember from Darkroot here, and make it manageable. But most people just wait until they're already going to Tomb of the Giants. So it ends up becoming an endgame area.
I think like a lot of people save it just because it is so traumatizing that first time out of the gate. Russ, you shouldn't feel bad. Everybody I've ever talked to has done the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's ahead of you, right? The game starts and it's straight ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dark Souls.
Yeah, and you're trained by video games to think, skeletons, no problem. There ain't no meat on them, but they just reassemble.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Who knew that we had that kind of mightiness inside us? Like, I have a skeleton within me that knows no bounds. That is that powerful.
Your flesh is holding you back, Gary. Yeah. So,
if only I could be free.
Yeah. So, man, this Titanite Demon, though, he's really out of place, isn't he?
He's right up next to the blacksmith. Like, I would move into a place with a Titanite Demon right next to it. Those are the worst neighbors. Like, if you're scouting out an apartment and there's a Titanite Demon next door, keep looking. Like, no low amount of rent is worth that.
Well, so what I never understood, so is he made of Titanite or does he like Titanite? Because if he's made of it, I could see, eventually the blacksmith's just going to, like, go over there and cut him down and take all the spoils.
Can I borrow a cup of you?
Yeah, there you go.
This is darker than we thought. He has him chained up and he just goes in and takes a piece off and forges a weapon, no problem.
There you go.
Then he waits for it to go back and he goes in. This is
like a Cormac McCarthy novel.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, that makes sense. That could be he's just harvesting him.
Yeah.
That's why he's missing all those pieces.
Man,
there you go.
Andre, dude, you fucked up.
Dark secret. How did you guys take this guy on when you first fought him? Because I definitely did it in a really tedious way that I wish I hadn't, which was with arrows and about 200 of them.
Oh, yeah, that's one way to do it. I didn't have too much I died probably 4 or 5 times on him. I played through as a pyromancer, which I guess is the newbie class. But I was just generally just sort of like getting him to try to hit me, and then when he went down with his little staff thing, I threw some fireballs in his face, and he didn't last too long.
Yeah, I was pretty much the same. My first go around, I was a sorcerer, and I was tempted to take him out that way, but I had just found the Drake sword. So he's a weird boss because he's dangerous from range and also when you're close to him, and like kind of that sweet spot where where he can do neither to you is really really hard to find. So
although those range attacks are pretty easy to dodge, I would say.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
He's also a neat boss because you fight multiple versions of this, and even though the HP count goes up, the only thing that changes are the arenas. So in this first one, you have a lot of advantages. It's wide. There's lots of cover in that first area. And then there's the dual levels. So you can go down the stairs and a lot of his attacks will miss you. They'll go over your head. And then later, the way they make it more difficult is by making the arenas more complicated and less advantageous.
Still have to put him in hallways.
Yeah.
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 His breath is pretty cool too. He kind of sounds like Darth Vader, which is fun.
Yeah. That scraping noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
and he's
that
missing like limbs. That's sad.
Well, hey, Andre, right?
Yeah, that must be it. Exactly.
Yeah, all those weapons behind Andre are fully upgraded.
Yes,
from the spoils of this guy.
It's weird because he drops Demon Titanite, but like you can't use that until you get a boss soul weapon.
Yeah. I had no idea what Demon Titanite was. I just kept getting things, and I had no idea what they were. So, oh, great, sure, why not? And then by the end, I ended up forging like 30 things in one go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you don't know what you get from this guy also kind of lends itself to the fact that he's optional at this point. So if you don't want to fight this guy, he's one of the few bosses you can just run past.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Later. So you go through here and you kind of find one of the first visually distinct areas of the game, right? I mean, we try to find like a thesis for each area. Mine that I had was, it's not all stone and skeletons, right? Which is what it was most of the time before. And, your enemies can hide from you in plain sight, which those freaking shrubs do.
Yeah, I got a same vibe that I did when I was playing through BioShock, and you get to the gardens in BioShock, and it's so, again, it's gardens, but it's just so dramatically different from the environments you've been dealing with before that.
Or the Sanctuary in Fallout 3?
Yep.
It's called, that when the power of contrast when you go into an area where you're used to everything being dead and cold and having it full of life. And there's kind of a danger to that. Like, I have a strange phobia about plants and plant life anyway. I just find them, kind of creepy. Spores, all that stuff. That first boss in Super Metroid, like all of that stuff creeps me out pretty good.
Yeah.
And this speaks to that pretty well.
You were traumatized by Jumanji when you were a young teen.
Or Evil Dead, for that matter.
Oh yeah, I suppose that would have been the less embarrassing reference, but okay. Oh yeah, but it's real neat. I remember being terrified of these shrubs, just because they do that. You're walking along and then pow, like the Viet Cong just popping out of their holes. It's like down you go, and they just pick you up and munch on you.
Yeah,
is that a more embarrassing reference, Kole, or Jumanji? Like, the fact that you are referring to the Ents as the Viet Cong. Like, it seems like it's somehow insensitive in some way.
Well, that's they were fighting in a forest. They popped out of nowhere.
It was your experience.
That's fair, right?
As like a 25-year-old guy, you can feel confident in making that reference.
Oh, man. I can't do anything right. Okay. Yeah.
I liked fighting them just because, this is about the point at which I was starting to really understand the tactics of the combat, just because they are introducing that unblockable grab attack on you, and you just have to, I don't know, until this point, essentially it was just like, okay, I'm blocking, okay, I'm dodging, but this definitely, they add another element to the combat system that I really wasn't paying attention to before those guys.
Yeah, they definitely do in steps. So you first you're fighting hollows with no shields, then you're fighting hollows with shields, then you're fighting Baller Knights that can parry you, and now you're fighting guys that can grab you and have unblockable attacks. Like, I didn't really realize that, but there's definitely a clear progression of in these first 4 areas you can visit, them introducing something new each time. And then then you have the thieves in the lower burg that can backstab you as well. So they're introducing these one at a time. That's very elegant.
Yeah, and to my mind, thinking back on this, with a little bit of distance from the game and having gone back and played through it, so much of the combat, your success or failure depends on your position relative to the enemy and knowing what distance is good to keep for the weapon you have versus the weapon or attacks they have. Right. So Darkroot's kind of a confusing area because, a lot of people, they will find their way into the basin, which is an equal part of this. And the garden technically includes the area where you fight Sif. So for the purposes of this episode, the garden is going to include everything from the Titanite Demon up through the Moonlight Butterfly. We're not going to go over into the basin off to the right, and we're not going to go through the sealed door. The toll bridge, right?
I like that sealed door.
Me too. That's sorry to disappoint you.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll live.
In addition, kind of shadowing that, introducing new mechanics, you have it here in the notes, and I didn't really realize it, but they do incrementally increase the number of these Ents you're fighting. So, you fight one, then you fight one where another one pops up behind you, and then you have that ambush past the first bonfire where there are 3 at a time. And they just kind of keep upping the number of them.
And then they mix them in with other kind of more infuriating enemies down the line.
Yeah.
So you're walking along. The footing here is super treacherous. Like, going back through it, it's basically Valley of the Drakes, but it's dark in terms of its topography, right?
Yeah. Well, lots of narrow ledges.
Yeah, it's really dark, too, which is weird because it was late afternoon in the parish.
Yeah, is that you said that you always look to the sky in this game and check what's going on. Is there just a canopy above this if you look up? I don't know if I've looked up.
It's night.
It is night.
Because there's open, if you go down to where the lake is, the base, I guess that's the basin, so we're not going to be talking about that, but you can see, obviously, this clear sky, and it's like a starry night.
Yeah. And if you do go through the sealed door, like if you look across that, if you look, the cliff that a lot of people use to farm, you can actually see this guy there too, and it is really dark out. Yeah, time is a fluid thing. So you're proceeding along, kind of fighting some people. There are a couple of detours that you can take, and there are kind of items that are scattered around in places that are seemingly unreachable. One of the major ones that actually leads over to the basin is a place where you can find leather armor, and you can find one of the most useful shields in the game. But you're also going to find is it the Halberd Black Knight, Gary?
Yeah, the Halberd Black Knight.
Yeah.
There. Who can be real tricky, even though you can use that footing to your advantage, because if you get a backstab, and that's pretty much my method for taking out knights, I've thrown him off the ledge several times, kicked him off. But that crest shield, man, if you're not going to be doing a lot of blocking, that thing is a lifesaver, because it's essentially just like having the Chloranthy ring, in addition, without taking up a ring slot.
Yeah.
That thing is great.
I didn't happen down there for quite some time. I was very late in the game until I went down there, so I didn't have that for a while. And when I got it, I was like, "Oh, this would have been useful."
Yeah, it's very hidden. That side path is really easy to miss because when just going up to I remember even walking up to the plateau at the end of the side path and not realizing it doubles back. Going down, like they don't do anything to telegraph that that's
not only that.
path.
You go off to that plateau and they spawn one of the Ents. To run at you as you go to that edge, so it sort of leads you back into the garden,
right?
Which is interesting.
Yeah. But another neat little lore bit, you find is it the hunter or the ranger? I forget what that class is called.
They're called the hunter.
The hunter, yes. You find his starting gear here, which leads you would think that like if he was going to die anywhere, it would not have been the woods. Like, awesome, I'm in my element here. I'm in the woods, and then down he goes.
That's why it makes sense he was there.
I suppose.
I guess that's the takeaway. So maybe it doesn't make sense that he died there, but
maybe he died of old age there.
Just set up shop.
He was the Black Knight's partner.
There you go.
Us monsters. What do we do? He would have sold us arrows. He's a Fletcher.
But you kind of get down into the area proper, and you're seeing hints of this kind of architecture. The lore here, it has a lot of significance, like later. Russ, did you do any of the DLC stuff?
No, I didn't.
Okay. If you do intend to do that, it would be good to pay attention to kind of the layout of this place, because there are strong bits of speculation that these areas are linked. Yeah. So... Yep. But the garden is pretty neat, because it feels like it's this neat little sanctuary that's just kind of like tucked away in these ruins. And anything that's kind of like connected to the parish, my initial thought is like, oh, this was for sacred people, as opposed to, the commoners. They have Blightown. They can go play on the water slides there.
The worst water slide. Action park. Like 6 people died in the Blightown water slide again this week.
Yeah.
It's like that Mr. Show sketch with the what is the name of the ride that keeps killing people? Cole?
I don't know.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I had to give it to you for the show notes. I love that sketch so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never put that together that it was a sacred place. I just kind of, once I figured out, did the DLC and figured out the lore bit, I just kind of thought that's what this is. It's just an overgrown what that is. I'm dancing around saying it because Russ hasn't done the DLC.
It's cool. I'll be frank. Like, I did not play Dark Souls for the story. I beat the whole game. I have no idea what the overarching story is. I'm sure it's something interesting. Gun to my head. There was a big bird. I hit a bunch of guys with a sword. And there was a cave. And I'm sorry, I realized
it's an interesting lore bit. I hit a guy with a sword.
Yeah. And I realized, I'm sure that, and it makes me feel a little bad because obviously they put a lot of work into creating this world, but that was never something that was propelling me through it. It was what's the backstory behind everything.
It's don't feel bad. I think a lot of people go through the game that way, and because it's so mechanically impeccable, it allows that. So it allows the story stuff to be hidden.
Yeah, I will admit that most of my interest and fascination with the story kind of happens in hindsight, as I'm digesting what I just played, or thinking about it, reflecting on it and saying oh, that probably had some significance there.
Sure.
Then again, I'm the kind of person who reads item descriptions in Dragon Age. So
they made them for Kole.
Yeah. Exactly. How nice of them to do it. But yeah, that's a perfectly valid way to play through the game.
Yeah. So if you don't care, like this is an ancient civilization that you visit in the DLC. Uliasil. And I just kind of thought, I didn't think it was a holy place. I just thought of this as an overgrown, city and outskirts of a city.
I mean, it does look church-like. The structures do seem like religious in nature. So I don't know if that is where it goes in the DLC, but...
And I guess you find the Divine Ember later as well, so that makes a sense. I don't know. I could see it going either way.
Yeah, the really what gets me is like the way that the actual garden down there with the stone knights is set up. But there's also like where you fight that big goofy butterfly. Like that just looks like one of the walls from the Berg. So this could have just been entirely just overgrown, right? It's all speculation. Nature
reclaiming things, man. I'm telling you, plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody made fun of the happening, but that shit's scary, dude.
They're coming. They're coming. Yeah. So you get down there. Those So this area where there's lots of fog, there's lots of little glowy flowers that look like items, and running around aggro's plenty of enemies who will either eat you whole or slow you down, so other things can eat you whole. Not a huge fan of this.
You're talking about the area past the bonfire?
Yeah.
I am so sorry. I just jumped the gun. Remember that. But yeah, you see this big glowy door, and one of the biggest, most compelling reasons to play online is that this is an area where the orange glowy messages will point you to a secret bonfire, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. That was a very nice realization when I was like, oh, what's this? And then just swung around and and yeah, I played online, and more, about half the time it was helpful, and half the time someone came in and stabbed me in the face. So sort of a toss up, but in this case it was very helpful.
Right.
Yeah, borderline necessary for this one, and then a couple other bonfires later.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that when I replayed this for the show. It'd be like if Final Fantasy hid their save points. It's such an integral mechanic, and to have them hide it is just so insidious. I mean, I think we talked about that before, but
I can't imagine this is not the worst one though. I think it's pretty, not to again jump ahead, but the what is it? The Sif's castle?
Oh, Sen's Fortress.
Sen's Fortress. I'm sorry. This is again newbie. I don't know.
No, it's fine.
Sen's Fortress. But that is, I mean, you want to talk about a hidden save that is the most brutal. God.
You're running through a fun house of boulders and spikes, and
for
then
45 minutes.
And then in order to get to that, you have to take a leap of faith where you have been trained to be as cautious as possible.
Yeah. And a guy is throwing fire bombs at you while this is happening. So yeah. But this was a nice outreaching hand. It wasn't mandatory, but nice of them.
You had to take a ginger step of faith. If you actually make a leap of faith off that, you die.
Yeah, you're dead.
Yeah.
I suppose any kind of fall with an uncertain outcome is a leap of faith to my mind. Now that I think about it, it's kind of Zelda-like, right? It's kind of like, okay, you're coming up to this dungeon. What's that wall over there? Tink, tink, tink. I tested it. Bomb. Oh, wait, there's a fairy fountain down here. Awesome. Yeah. I realize that the fairy fountain is less integral than the ability to save your game or not have to replay that entire area. But I just, that gives me a little bit of a flavor of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
So just past the bonfire, you continue around. There's that area with the 3 trees which ambush you for a soul item. Like every time after the first time I played it, I just leave those guys alone because they'll never spawn if you never pick up that glowing thing.
Oh, really? Oh, I definitely didn't know that.
Yeah. And it bothers my OCD to leave any glowing thing ungrabbed. But in this case, it's worth not having to fight those every time I go back.
Yeah.
Just pretend it's a flower. Yeah.
But you end up on this kind of ground floor, and this is one of we talked about, for a game that is so into its rule set, the times where the game breaks the rules always kind of stand out to me. And these stone giants kind of bug me, just the fact that you can't aggro them from a distance and they're intangible until they wake up.
Yeah.
Like there's no other enemy you can't get the drop on, that you can't attack from a distance. And that always bothered me with these guys.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, that you can't really mess with them. Even if you're right on top of them, you won't be able to do damage to them until they're fully standing. But Once you're actually in combat with them, they're, I would say, one of my favorite enemies in the game. Because I really like the tension of like them casting that, whatever that stumble spell is.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of that tension, those moments of like, oh, I'm trying to back up and stay alive while this giant guy is coming at me. I really enjoyed that.
I can dig that, like as an exercise in tension, especially if you're worrying about whatever you're going to aggro.
Right.
It's just, it's like it's debuffing you so that other things can have a better shot at you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's one of the you don't run into very many spells that are not just magic missiles in this game. So to have somebody actually affect your abilities, because it definitely changes the way you play the game. I just wanted to be able to, wake them up from a distance, because on my playthrough, I would shoot an arrow at anything that was in my vision and send it to me one thing at a time. I was very methodical, and these guys kind of ruin that. Even though in subsequent playthroughs you can avoid all of them but one, so it's not actually that big a deal.
There's some neat stuff down here, but it really kind of discourages you from going and finding it. Over to the left, there is a really good set of armor, the Elite Knight armor, which is usually my go-to for
Over
anybody.
to the right.
Is that to the right? I thought. Oh, okay.
There's a spear on the left.
Is that up that hill? That like cave hill thing on the right side?
Oh, the hidden passageway?
Yeah.
No, but there is something cool back there. Aside from more stone knights and these crazy manta frog things.
Quick story about the manta frog things. This is one of the first instances in the game. Like, one of the things I love about this game is that the creatures are not afraid to look stupid. And I love that design where things can look really garish and out there. So these, they're essentially living trapper keepers.
Yeah.
And I love that. But it also makes sense, things that are poisonous tend to be like brightly colored in nature, kind of like a dart frog. And, when I had heard about, somebody had warned me in the game, they'd said like, basilisk, watch out for basilisk, they're gonna fuck you up. And, this was the first kind of enemy that I saw in my mind that could theoretically be a basilisk.
Yeah, well, they told me frogs. I was told frogs. So I thought the same thing you did, but I didn't hear basilisk. So the second I saw these guys, I was terrified.
Yeah, exactly. And they're so easy. Like, I give these guys such a wide berth, and they stick out their tongue, and I roll backwards like 6 times. Just because I'm afraid of getting this curse thing I'd only heard about. And in fact, they are no problem.
Yeah.
One of the easiest enemies in the game.
The lesser frog. I kind of like the way they move. They kind of remind me of hunters from Resident Evil.
Yeah, kind of hunched over and wavy.
Yeah, and they make sudden movements like that. But they don't show up anywhere else, do they? I don't think they do.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Really?
I really like, I don't know if you guys were going to mention it, but I really like the tree lizard things. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The 2-headed lizard snake
things. Yeah. I thought that was really cool. Like, they do some cool stuff with camouflage where they really don't move at all. One of them definitely startled the hell out of me. So mission accomplished.
The first one you run into on the left there, it's a double attack, because when he gets you, if you go up and grab that spear and he gets you, an Ent spawns right behind you as well. So that's like a definite trap moment that got me the first time I played through.
Yeah.
And
so much of this is deliberate. Like, just they laid that out knowing exactly what you were going to do. It's not a unique revelation about the game, but sometimes you just need to marvel at it. Yeah.
It's also lots of unique enemies. So those guys you never run into anywhere else, as well as those kind of manta things.
Yeah.
And they both drop items that aren't dropped by any other characters. So those 2-headed snake things will drop egg vermifuge. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
Which is a very limited use item, but it's the only place to get it other than buying it from a character later.
Maybe those don't drop from the egg guys. Don't drop that.
They do.
Do they? Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, I thought they did.
It's real rare.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. I wasn't sure, but the mantas drop green grass with a lot of frequency. So
Green. The stamina stuff.
yeah, stamina grass.
Not to be confused with the Outlaws song.
No. They drop that beat on death. Put the needle on the record.
You kill them and then it's a 7-minute guitar solo.
Viking funeral style.
Definitely.
When you go down to that little area on the right, we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but one of the cool things is you can hear the Hydra down there from that ledge.
Burger?
Yeah, you hear the water shuffling around from the Hydra if you go down to where those on your way to get the ring, the poise ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. In my mind, this area is always more interconnected than it is in real life, or not real life, in fantasy life. Video game, in the game as you play it. There we go. That's the one. So I expect, like, when I went back there, I was like, oh, there's a ladder down here. Wait, no, there's not. This is really just a dead end with frogs.
Yeah.
But you get that wolf ring, which, pro tip, it's really, really good if you are going to be using light armor. It helps you out.
Mm-hmm. And it makes sense that it's there, given what we know from the DLC.
Yes.
And who the ring belonged to.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a nice sense.
A wolf?
It was more of a bracelet on him, but
okay.
Yeah, a collar. The wolf collar.
Yeah. But butterflies, man.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Nobody suspects the butterfly. Yeah. So
did you? How did you fare against the butterfly the first time you fought him, Russ?
I died. I died a few times on him. Him. I don't need. I think it's a her, right? I don't know. I got a her vibe.
The music sounds her.
Yeah. Sure. Well, there's like singing and
it
chorus.
sounds her because it's a lone wailing woman.
Right. There you go. Yeah, I died a few times and eventually sort of just like, playing as a pyromancer, I was sort of cagey about using spells. Even then, I would use them just like in emergency situations. And essentially after dying a few times, I was like, okay, this is clearly, I just save all of my spells and just use all of them on the butterfly. And that's the way to do it. Because otherwise, like, those few opportunities to melee just were not coming for me. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up just, doing lots of spells. But I also, I would say it feels a little bit like cheating because I also summoned whoever it is that appears, the AI summon.
Yeah.
And she did most of the work. She like crushed the butterfly into oblivion. It wasn't even close.
It's like later with Iron Tarkus, and how Iron Tarkus can take on the Iron Golem by himself, more or less. She's as equally fit for this boss.
I've only ever killed the Moonlight Butterfly and the Iron Golem once. Both other times I have let the NPC do it.
Yeah.
You work smarter, not harder.
I love the when you're going up that spiral staircase to the butterfly, right before you go in the fog door, you can see it off in the distance, just kind of feeding on whatever it is that it eats, that it comes in when it comes in range, and just slowly flapping its wings. Like, it looks real creepy, and because of the scale, you have no idea what size it is.
Yeah.
You know? That's one of my favorite, like, boss introductions in the game. Just kind of seeing that out of the corner of my eye before I go through here. I died a couple times as well, even though this is widely considered to be a really easy boss. I had a hard time with it because I hadn't really properly learned to roll yet. And he does all magic damage, so blocking with your shield does almost nothing for you.
Yeah, and it's hard to judge how close the attacks are when they're coming. It's the angles that they do it is real weird. So like the timing is difficult, and he makes his shots count. Like, it's real. It stings a lot. Yeah.
From a lore perspective, this thing is a creation of Seath. You know, these butterflies, and it makes total sense that Seath would have an interest in this area, knowing what we know about the DLC and the true story behind this area. So, and that gets reinforced later in the basin where they're all the crystal golems.
Remind me who was Seath again?
He's the big pasty nerd dragon who without the skin, Seath the Scaleless.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Curse a lot. Yeah. There's so when you beat this Moonlight Butterfly, you get a unique item, the soul of the Moonlight Butterfly, which sounds like a Yes album.
Like I was gonna say Tori Amos album, but also acceptable.
Yes is also acceptable. But
it would make a very cool poster. There's no question about that.
Gary, your offhanded comment about Lisa Frank earlier, I just want Lisa Frank parody folders, but with Dark Souls material.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
This is one of the only enemies that would fit in perfectly in that aesthetic. Like, there's probably some girl in some sorority that has a moonlight butterfly tattoo and doesn't even know it. Like, some guy is uncovering her ankle. He's seeing that tattoo and be like, holy shit, dude. And then she's like, what? I just thought it looked cool. And then, you know,
she ends up on some kind of fail blog of sorts.
Yeah.
You know, which is what happens.
Yep, the way these things happen.
Yeah, but you get that Yes album, and you have a couple of options. You know, it looks like a regular soul item. You can eat it for souls, but if you hold on to it, you can actually craft unique items later on with it. So either a bitchin' looking spear that scales with intelligence. I love the way that item looks. Actually,
Yeah, that's a really nice looking
super
spear.
cool.
that's what I did just to have it, even though the shield would have more utility. Yeah, or the crystal ring shield, which shoots like. Just again, rings of light.
The shield got a serious debuff and a patch. Earlier on, it used to do the same damage as your weapon in your right hand, so it made any weapon you had a ranged weapon.
Yeah,
Wow.
Which is insane. But then it got hard capped at something like 250. I made it in my sorcerer playthrough because it had really high magic resist, but the stability on it is so low and the physical resist is so low that I didn't end up using it very much. It looks really cool. And the attack looks really cool, but
so as you mentioned, after this boss fight, you get the you go up and you find a petrified blacksmith with this divine ember, which you can actually use to make a weapon that'll make the catacombs manageable.
Yeah, and not only, I think that's the kind of the principal trait of divine weapons that everyone thinks of, but it's also, you know, it's the trait that scales with faith.
Yeah.
So if you're playing any kind of cleric, you want to be rolling with a divine weapon anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have tackled the section of the garden that we are going to be talking about for this. Any final thoughts before we go on to our little detour?
I have controversial thoughts, but they do involve what is directly behind the secret door, and I don't want. Okay, it's going to be brief. So my attitude, I will reiterate that I really, really like Dark Souls. I really, really dislike the leveling system. Like, did not find it to be rewarding. I didn't find it, like, I was making decisions that I didn't feel like they had palpable impact on my character. The improvements became so tiny to the point where I essentially, I will admit, looked online to see if there were ways around it and ended up abusing the leveling beyond the door pretty extensively.
Yeah.
And found that my enjoyment of the game went up dramatically because of that. Because suddenly I was able to, instead of worrying about, I need to add 1 point to strength, I was able to I can buy this cool spell that actually has a physical and graphical impact on my character. So I realize that's a little edgy to say that I kind of just totally abused the system, but I don't know. That's sort of my take. I like the fact that it's in there. I don't think they did it intentionally, but, you know, I definitely took advantage of it.
If it wasn't intentional, they probably would have patched it out somehow.
I think you don't think it's a situation where, they didn't realize it was in there and then once it was in there, they're like, if people want to use it, they can go ahead.
That's probably the more likely scenario.
Yeah. I think that's more likely. And it does it. All it does really is save you time. You know, you could get those souls conventionally just by fighting all those guys as well, or just, you know, so it can save you time. I don't think there's anything really wrong with that because even it's really difficult to over level to the point where the game becomes trivial.
Right.
Like even at a very high
it's
level.
still hard.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially when you're talking about buying spells and stuff. I did that sorcerer playthrough, and to get all of the spells and clean out Big Hat Logan, I mean, we're looking at something like 175,000 souls or something like that. It's insane. So, you know, wanting to do that, you know, it gets expensive. So I don't really see a problem with doing that. When I tried it, the couple of times I tried doing the exploit, it didn't always work for me, and I would kind of round people up, and one of the AI would not fall for it and would just kind of gank me in the area. So I've done a couple runs through there, maybe to gain a couple levels, but I've never spent any serious time with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say all told, I probably sunk like an hour, but in that hour, I was able to get enough for, you know, God knows how many levels. So I mean, I think it just got rid of a lot of the tedium and frustration that I would have had in scenarios where I'm like chugging around with a ton of souls and not able to spend them on anything, and then I end up losing them or something like that.
And your thoughts on the leveling system? I mean, it kind of mirrors something that I think about with like Diablo or World of Warcraft or something, where if you have an option between 3% extra fire damage or shooting a crazy ice spear, you're going to go with the ice spear because new utility is always going to, in my mind, because I have no attention span, trump marginal increases.
Absolutely.
And you can get that. Like, there are certain items, especially spells, where you have to have a certain level of that particular stat, but you have to also buy that thing first to use it. So yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
Nope.
Okay. I appreciate it.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the weird things about the leveling system, though, and I'm just I didn't really realize in my first playthrough, but is the point that you're increasing those stats, but all of your defenses go up as well. Mm-hmm. So it can seem like a very incremental increase when you just get 60 more HP, but over time you become a lot more hardy. Yeah. And I only really notice that when I go if I try to fight Havel when I first run into him versus if I come back a couple after the gargoyles and I can survive a hit. So it does make a big difference. It's not mechanically. It's just your defense. It's one aspect that makes a big difference over a huge amount of time.
Yeah.
Rather than I guess, which is the same thing you said. It's very incremental.
Yeah.
But because there's a steady thing that always goes up every time you level up, that you can more or less get for free, regardless of the stat.
But on the flip side of that, you have stats that literally give you nothing if you're at what is it?
Attunement? Yeah.
Gives you nothing until you get to one, like a certain mysterious level.
Mm-hmm. Attunement is infuriating.
It's really dreadful.
Yeah, attunement's pretty obnoxious. Yeah. And you can see that as being it was a stat that they had in Demon Souls as well, but didn't it, I think it governed another thing. Like it was the number of slots you had and your MP, and then the other one was your magic power.
Yeah.
So you always got a little bit of something out of it. But in this version without the MP, it made it a little bit infuriating.
Yeah, I mean, my attitude is I feel like the way to make it meaningful, like I'm fine if you want to stick with this system, but let's say every 5 levels you get like some sort of passive, like a Fallout equivalent perk. You're saying something like a ring would give you, and obviously they'd balance it, but you could carry 5% more items or what have you. I feel like by having something like that, you're giving people a reason to level up, a reason to hit these plateaus of levels beyond just, I increased 3%.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Mm-hmm. Second game.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what kind of changes they make in the second game. Like something like that. Like I don't strictly think that it would be necessary, but I trust them to balance it in a way to where if they do that, they're going to make you need it.
Oh, absolutely.
They're going to make the game that much tougher and make it absolutely essential.
Sure.
That you have those things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of hidden things and little exploits and stuff.
Speaking of attunement.
Yeah, speaking of it. Man. So, has anybody in this entire world ever gotten back to the asylum without looking at a guide?
Gotten back from where?
The path from Firelink up to back to the asylum to get items that are still there.
You might not have done it. It's optional.
It's incredibly non-obvious.
Yeah. You're talking about the bird?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I looked at a guide. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. That was one of the last things I did when I was like, okay, I pretty much wrapped up this game. Let's see what else I haven't done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's insanely esoteric. It's amazing.
Is it a Simon's Quest thing or the most Simon's Quest thing?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Very Simon's Quest thing.
Just again, I think of it last time. Who is the superhero who found this out in the first place? If it wasn't just with the guide when it came out, and it just literally is only playground knowledge.
Yeah,
because I would never think to do that. Never.
I wouldn't say it's there are some crazier little Easter egg type things. I wouldn't say they usually end up in having a whole new area to explore. But I mean, it's not like I did go up in the elevator and I saw the little ledge and I'm like, oh, I could probably jump off of that. Yeah. And that would have been the extent of my exploration. I wouldn't think to like roll off the cliff and try to land on the ramp and all that stuff. But if you did, chances are you would find the way back to the asylum. So it's not that far from the possibility of someone finding that.
Yeah, people like to mess around with the geometry and stuff like that, but you just don't think, Dark Souls controls equals parkour to pretend to be an egg.
Well, because they don't. Let's face it. Like
mobility.
They really do not handle that stuff well.
Not a good platformer.
Exactly.
No. Like all the times when you have to jump at this, it's more or less a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Despite what Blightown might imply, it is not a good platformer.
I'm not looking forward to this because I realized I've never actually played all of Blightown. So I'm going to.
What? How is that possible?
I've always had the master key. I can always go the back way.
You never did that. You never did the front way through Blightown, Kole?
Nope.
Oh, that's fucking insane.
It's misery.
Yeah, it's terrible. What kind of character are you going to try to play through? I can't wait to hear about it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it is awful.
I guess if
just
you're playing on PC, it wouldn't be too bad. Are you guys playing on PC?
Oh. Yeah, I am.
I'm playing on 360.
Okay, so 360.
Good night.
My god, because the frame rate. Oh, the horror. Where does the master key drop you out at?
You go in the back way. So, how if you defeat Pelag, then you climb up the water wheel.
Yeah.
And you find the tin banishment catalyst, and then you go back through
through the Tomb of the Giants, or not the Tomb of the Giants, the
Valley
Dragons.
of the Drakes.
Yeah,
Valley of the Drakes.
Yeah. So you just go in that way.
God.
Yeah.
So you've done none of it.
Yeah. So every single time I've been like fucking Blightown, and you've been like, yeah, man, it sucks. You were talking about that part.
I was.
that doesn't suck, Cole. That part is amazing.
Nothing in that part that sucks.
Yeah. You are in for a world of fucking hurt, dude. It is awful. What kind of guy are you rolling with this? Is this your shieldless guy?
This is my shieldless guy.
Start playing now.
I don't even know. Because there's all sorts of poison guys. How do you even? I have no idea how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah,
I
have no idea. I also have I have another character that is Dex Faith as well.
Yeah, take a couple of days off work. It sucks.
Yeah,
it's bad.
So
it is hard.
It makes me happy though that I've experienced something that you haven't.
Yeah.
This makes me incredibly happy too. Like you're gonna be so fresh on this. Like on the episode where we talk about that, me and Nick are gonna be like, yeah, it sucks, but you only have to really do it once. And you're just gonna be like, what the fuck, guys? How do they allow this? Like you're gonna be so angry. I can't wait to hear it.
I do want to say that I'm not gonna spoil the intricacies of it, but I do want to say I stood at the edge of the lake for about 45 minutes. Looking for some sign of a bonfire somewhere to tell me okay, this is finally I've reached the end of this. Oh my god. It is a dreadful experience.
This recontextualizes our relationship, Cole.
It kind of I kind of didn't think there was anything more to it than that. So
oh my god.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
But it's funny that we're talking about Blightown because you're going back to the asylum to get the rusted iron ring.
Yep. I never got that.
It's really important. So all that time in Blightown, or when you're fighting the Hydra, and you think man, this would be a little bit better if I wasn't moving at half speed. That gets rid of that effect.
Okay. I never really. Do you mean super slow diving or?
Yeah.
So what is the effect of the iron ring? Just for
it makes you move normally through water.
Yeah.
Oh, and sorry. I was thinking of the other thing that makes you roll faster.
Oh yeah.
The ninja, whatever it is. No, I got this ring, and that was very handy when I got it, but I had already gone through Blightown when I got it, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. But yeah, at this point, we go back and grab that just kind of in our template playthrough. It is a nice thing to have. And that's what we went to Darkroot, more or less to get poison curing moss for Blightown.
I see.
So much of the game is just to prepare you for that area.
That trauma. What am I saying? I've never experienced it. Hey, dudes.
God, I can't wait to be a fly
really
on your wall.
Do an audio recording of you playing through that. I think
I might actually do that.
And if you're following that sequence, after you get the rust iron ring, we are next heading to the depths.
Mm-hmm.
With the kind of thesis statements we're coming up with, the kind of thing I think of is that resist temptation. This area has a lot of traps, a lot of things, enemies trying to tempt you into those things specifically in many different instances. Not least of which the relatively welcoming kitchen, like dinner party that's happening when you first enter.
Yeah. That's and going back through earlier today when I should have been working, and refreshing myself on this area. The kitchen is separate from the sewers. We just link them because they happen to be in succession. But it's not like you have butchers chopping up human meat down with the turtles, right?
It's pretty close to the sewers.
Oh, right there.
I know.
Yeah.
It's not even a wall. It's literally like you step off the edge and you're in the sewer.
It's flooded. It's a flooded room. There are stairs that go down into it. So, in the decay.
Flooded with sewer. Like, if your sink was backing up and brown stuff was coming out, you wouldn't, make a quiche. You would get out of there or call a plumber.
Health inspector probably wouldn't let this one fly.
No. Okay.
Maybe that's what Laurentius was doing there. Trying to shut down their operation.
Down there just sterilizing stuff with his pyromancy. Yeah. So
Pyro's the only way to cure this.
Yeah. But yes, there is a kitchen that is very close to a sewer. I will give you that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like this first little area. I like the introduction of the butcher. More or less enemy that is not aggressive when you first run into them. I'm really happy. And he's just chopping human meat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool. I liked him too. He was fun to fight, and the dogs are kind of neat.
Hmm?
Yeah, he was one of the first enemies, maybe other than the Stone Knight, who could just break my block, like he did. Like when he gets that cleaver going, just your best bet is just to roll out of the way.
Yeah.
He will stagger you.
Yeah. And you end up fighting two of them, with the second one being that surprise ambush.
Yeah,
where he jumps down.
Yeah.
Oh right. Yeah, that startled me.
Yeah. So can you get that cleaver at all? Because most weapons in the game you can get. Okay.
Maneater Mildred drops it.
Oh, the server?
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's another thing you pick up in Blightown.
Yeah. Okay.
Maneater Mildred drops the actual butcher knife.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Have.
Oh, and she also has the burlap sack over her too, right?
She's one of them.
Okay.
She's when you rescue Laurentius, he says she's going to eat me.
Mm-hmm.
Which I imply, some people say the butchers are ladies. I don't think that's true, given their physique. Mm-hmm. I think that he's talking about Maneater Mildred, however she exists in the fiction, which, she barely does. This is real up our ass lore shit. But just given that she's dressed the same and, she's a lady.
Yeah.
And what a lady. Guaranteed. Yeah. Where the DeviantArt page for Maneater Mildred is probably the stuff of legends.
Excuse me while I look at that right now because I hate me. Yeah. But it's real neat. And this kind of starts my impression of the depths as one of the most baffling areas in terms of most of the levels in this game I have a really good mental map of, right? I can walk through them in my head like I could through my middle school or my childhood home. This one, the order that you properly go through it in, I couldn't tell you, right?
Yeah,
just because it doubles back on itself a lot and you can sequence break so much.
I think Catacombs is worse, but this is pretty bad. Catacombs is really confusing for me.
Yeah.
So Laurentius though, real quick. So we talked about this in the last episode. I think the fact that he's in the barrel, I really feel like this is the game doing a long con. Every corpse barrel that gives you a shiny item, they give a guy that has kind of the same color scheme, put him in a barrel and who doesn't talk for a moment, just to tempt you into killing a really important NPC.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible. I was warned about him in particular, so I knew how to handle the situation, but clearly they could have just easily put him in a corner and it would have been fine, but no, definitely not.
Yeah. Just roll, Laurentius.
Especially as a pyromancer. I don't know how you'd play this as a pyromancer without getting him.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, and the second trainer, maybe you can't get the second trainer because I think she only appears when your pyromancy flame is at +10.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So and you have no reason to upgrade or no ability to upgrade it. So at that point, if you accidentally kill Laurentius and you're playing a pyromancy build, reconsider your build or start over.
Yeah,
because he's also one of the nicest guys in the game. I don't want to kill him.
He's charming.
He looks. There's a video with all the voice actors showing what they look like, and he looks a lot like a perfect Laurentius. He's very appropriate looking.
It's funny.
Yeah, that's there are a couple of videos that are pertinent to this. There is the video where you see his face and he looks like the helpful dude that he is. I was going to say bro, but that's not very let's say charitable. Then there's also the video that shows the voice actors, too. And his voice actor looks like you would expect him to, which is crazy. Just a little bit of useless trivia.
Yeah. You also get the large ember here, which is a really important item, and is kind of shows like at least initially your upgrade path is matching your progress through the game. So you get the large ember. This is about the time where you probably have a +5 weapon, and if you're doing a normal path, you want to get to +10. The very large ember though is hidden quite a bit later.
Yeah.
So that's they want you to get up to +10 before Sense Fortress and Anor Londo, more or less, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used the gargoyle halberd and loved it. I thought it was great. So.
Oh wow.
I definitely upgraded that quite a bit at this point.
What does that upgrade with?
Yeah, that was my question.
Which material?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a standard weapon. It's not like a twinkling or anything like that. So.
Okay, so yeah, it just does it with Titanite. Yeah, I don't think
Titanite, and then I turned it into a lightning weapon when I could.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't realize you could enchant it even like that.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
And since I was playing pyromancy, I didn't have to worry because you could actually use it with a really low strength. I think like 14. And then once I turned it lightning, my stats didn't matter. So I was essentially doing as much damage. So yeah, it worked out really good. Really good animation. It's very different from the standard halberd animation, which is just a poke. This is an overhead slam.
Awesome.
But it's quick and definitely recommended.
Yeah, that's actually really cool because I want to make a polearm character.
Yeah.
And fuck hunting for the Titanite catch pole. That one. So the tail might actually be a way to go because the thing that I don't like about most of the polearms that I see are their animations. They're real weird.
The tail is an axe. The halberd I think is a drop.
Is it
that you get? Yeah, the tail. Yeah, the tail axe is what you're talking about. I think, unless that's what Russ is talking about as well.
No,
it is a gargoyle halberd. Yeah,
the halberd is a drop from the gargoyles on top of the church. Yeah.
Oh, so if you don't get it during the boss fight, you have to get it in Anor Londo.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
It's a guaranteed drop in Anor Londo, I think.
Okay.
A chance. And the axe is actually I don't like the axe moveset. It's all floppy.
Yeah.
It's all rubbery.
It's a tail. It's one of the few tail items that's obviously a tail.
It's one of the many things that it has one of the attributes that Kole associates with dildos, which is floppy. So the gargoyle tail dildo that you do not want to take.
Don't read too much into that. Havel's weapon. If you haven't listened to the Berg, I don't need to defend myself. Anyway, can we move on?
Yeah, slimes. Segue.
So you get to the sewer proper.
Yeah, the slimes are one of the things I'm saying. Resist temptation because the very first one you run into is over a soul item, and he definitely got me.
Yeah,
for sure. Too. And these guys are kind of tough because unless you are rolling a pyromancer, they're very resistant to physical damage.
Yeah.
Take a lot of hits. And right after this first one, there's that hallway of you see dozens of them on the ceiling. And you can just run through, but your initial thought is, how do I even get through this?
Yeah, I pretty much lit them on fire. It was fine.
Health inspector.
I love the design on these things because you think like a slime, just like okay, they're going to be like a Jello mold, but they have like shit in them, so they're more like gelatinous cubes where they have like spears and rocks and stuff, where you can kind of see the remnants of whatever they consume before you.
Spears and rocks and grapes.
Yeah.
And anything that's in a Jello mold.
Yeah. Marshmallows for some reason, gross. But yeah, they're good. You can farm a lot of Titanite from them. So apparently they're that was something that was on the people that they ate before, which is neat. I don't know, just reading stuff in.
So you get to the first bonfire down here, which is unlocked with the master key. And if you don't have the master key, it's kind of a pain to get to.
Yeah.
To get that sewer chamber key. Like you can still get to it if you there's a shortcut behind that first butcher that bypasses a lot of the depths. And you can get that key pretty quickly. But if you don't do that, it's going to be a little ways before you're able to unlock this bonfire, which is, very useful because as we'll find out soon, the bonfire is a real hot area for instant death. Pretty soon.
Yeah. It's also kind of crazy because I was watching some videos of this too to try and figure out like what the canonical way to go through is. You get that key and then you have to backtrack to the bonfire.
Yeah. You have to remember that there's a locked door there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So kind of a bummer. And then the rats, dude, the rats.
Yeah.
Like
I love these rats. Yeah,
they're
super
funny.
sneaky. Like
they'll guide you around corners and stuff like that, and then you'll run. It's like Star Wars. You turn a corner and there's stormtroopers everywhere. But it's just a whole bunch of rats.
Yeah, just more rats.
But like, think about this. Think about how subversive that is. Rats and slimes. Like those are
the stuff that the first level of Dragon Quest is made of.
Yeah.
In RPGs, exactly. Like these are the weakest things, and this is them using their their guile to attack you. I love the ones in crates. Like I'm just imagining like the channeler just like sitting cross-legged on the floor, nailing together this crate around a rat. Because it's sealed. Like it's not. He got shipped from somewhere. Like Amazon.com just got my delivery of giant rat. And
why do you have so many rats? I'm subscribed to them. I can't.
With Amazon Prime, it's free 2-day shipping.
Why not?
Why wouldn't I get one extra rats? If you use the binoculars, there's a little tiny smiley face on the corner of those boxes. This podcast brought to you by Amazon.
Kind of.
Not true. Yeah, kind of.
But
next time you order a giant rat.
Next time. So lots of mini bosses in this area. Like enemies that are really tough that don't come back after you kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That giant rat that you run into has actually before we get to that, because you're likely to fall into the pit if you're going to fall into one, because the channeler comes next, right? Sequentially.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is one of the few times like one of Seath's agents is about, and I don't know why. Mm-hmm. Like why is there a challenge?
Is that their backstory? Is that they're sort of like working for Seath?
Yeah. He sends them out to kidnap people to bring back and experiment on them.
Okay. They seem to be in places where there aren't any people.
Because they kidnapped all of them.
Oh, I see. Very effective. Makes sense.
This rock is good at keeping elephants away. I don't see any rocks or any elephants. But most of the areas it makes a kind of sense. But why he would send him to the sewer? Maybe this is the channeler that like this is the equivalent of getting like stationed in the tundra.
Oh yeah.
Like maybe he mouthed off.
He's in Duluth.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're gonna ship you off to the depths. No, Mr. Seath. So.
I'll demote you to sergeant so fast your head'll spin. I'm already a sergeant, chief. Oh man, but it's really important that you kill this guy because again, that resist temptation bit. If you use that shortcut, you can more or less go right to the gaping dragon. Mm-hmm. But if this guy's alive during that, you are fucked. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Can he hit you while you're fighting the gaping dragon?
Yep. And he does his little dance and buffs the gaping dragon.
Oh god, that's bad.
So yeah, he it is essential to kill this guy.
Yeah.
I've always thought the gaping dragon didn't have enough HP.
He needs to be buffed because it's not like he has infinite HP. But yeah, so this guy, I don't know why he's there, but you kill him. He's not standard channeler fighting tactics at this point. And then you get to the point where the rats are literally tempting you over those pits to the basilisks.
Yeah.
Like just standing on the other side where you can't really see the pit. And just kind of backing away and looking nervous. Which I've never fallen in one of those pits. I fell into a pit later and fought the basilisk on my first time on accident, but I've never gotten cursed in the depths.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. I've only gotten cursed fighting Seath and in the Great Hollow.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get cursed either. Although, again, so I was a little confused. So I was warned about the frogs, so I was kind of thinking that the frogs that we found in the Darkroot were the frogs I was supposed to worry about. So when the basilisk shows up, I wasn't really ready, especially because, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't a basilisk supposed to be like a bird mixed with a snake?
I think that's a cockatrice.
Yeah, that's a cockatrice.
Oh, you're right. So I was expecting a cockatrice. So, that confused the hell out of me. And, wait a minute. Hold on. Because isn't it a basilisk in Harry Potter too?
The basilisk in Harry Potter 2 is a snake.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So that's not a bird.
I don't know how birdy the snake is, though.
How birdy the snake is.
So it's either a snake or a frog. These look like frogs to me. Am I crazy? Right? They're essentially frogs. Anyway, I got
Basketball
very
frogs.
confused. Thankfully, I ran into one, and I saw the meter start going up, and I was like, oh crap, this is what they're talking about. And I managed to kill him, thank God, and ran the other way. So I never really went down the area that I guess there's probably more basilisks over there, to the left of where that big pool is. Yeah. But yeah, they startled me. It was scary.
The thing that's real neat about the basilisk is when they curse you, they turn you into statues. And when you're down there and you see all those statues there, part of the indirect multiplayer is those are other people who got cursed recently.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
it's very cool. Huh. It's also they're one of those things too that have a real psychological edge on me. Like I know how to fight the basilisk in the depths without getting cursed, but you can't relax in the depths until it is basilisk free.
Yeah.
Because that sound they make, like knowing that even though it's unlikely they're actually going to get me, one wrong turn or maybe my controller unplugs or my cat moves my mouse and I can't move or something like that. It's such a huge consequence. Like getting cursed is such a big deal.
Yeah. I will say there was one point in this game where I thought I was going to quit. I was not going to make it through. And it was immediately after Blightown, and I went left instead of right, and I went right into the Great Hollow and got cursed out my ass. It was really bad.
Cursed in Blightown.
And I had already, I had the bonfire at the top of the Great Hollow, thank God, but I was just so stubborn about like getting through the Great Hollow while I was cursed, and I was just like, they already made me do horrible platforming in Blightown. They're doing it again here. I hate this. And I was like that close to quitting. I was so pissed off. But, that was the only time I really got cursed was in, Great Hollow.
I don't know if anybody would blame you because those ones in the Great Hollow, they are super basilisks. Like they're buffed up.
Yeah.
They curse you a lot faster. The real trick to getting through the depths without being, cursed is just to be human and have some, liquid humanity on you.
Yeah.
Does that increase your, curse resistance?
Yeah.
But every time I turned human, someone would stab me in the face.
Yeah, that happened to me too. I had really bad luck with invasions on my first playthrough.
Well, it's supposed to happen here.
Yeah. Well, the before you segue, that was a good segue, Kole.
Okay.
I don't want to totally brush it under the rug. I'll save it for 1 second. Russ, did you know? I don't know if you know this. They patched it. Do you know how cursed used to work before they patched it?
I do actually know how much worse it was.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's pretty remarkable. I admit that I had it easy in comparison. It's still not easy. But that's brutal. I can't even imagine.
Like imagine 1/8. And I also think, correct me if I'm wrong, but did they add in the undead merchant selling the curse resistance?
Yes.
So initially you had to make your way to the New Londo ruins.
You either had to go to the New Londo ruins, or you could go to the Oswald.
Okay, I forgot that he did it too.
I bought a few of those cursed cures. This might have been added too from the merchant after the gargoyles.
Okay, no, he's always been able to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure about that, but
they're just more expensive there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because that guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
As evidenced by the gesture he teaches you. But man, curse.
Yeah.
No fun.
Yeah.
If I can find it, I'll put in the sound effect of the basilisk through this entire conversation to make everyone listening.
It's like a weird little laugh, right?
Knocking I can't do it or anything.
Yeah.
But.
Well, they've heard it already. Like what upsets me is like when they rear up to attack you, they balloon, as a frog would, but they turn like 2 times their regular size.
Yeah,
they get big.
Yeah.
And again, goofy design trumping all in this game, like making something look silly but actually be super deadly.
Yeah,
I like their design a lot. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah,
the way they move, like in spurts.
Yeah.
Real quick too, also, what are these big piles of disgusting slime that are down here that you can attack? Like I was terrified of those my first time through the depths because I was expecting.
And they don't do anything, right? It's just like a barrel almost.
Yeah, it's essentially a barrel. But I thought they were going to, like, a thing was going to pop out of them or they would poison me or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, those things. Did anybody else have that experience? Were anybody else spooked by those things?
I saw them, and I don't know if I gave it too much thought. But yeah, I was definitely thinking, there's probably something in one of them, at least a rat or something.
Yeah. It's safe to assume that any unidentified new object will kill you.
Yeah.
You've been trained up to this point to think that. You know,
Creep me out, man.
yeah. The thing about the basilisk that's really bugging me. I'm trying to look up a source for this. There's only one source that says this, but like those huge, gigantic, googly eyes. The Dark Souls wiki says that those aren't the actual eyes. I know
they're
this.
like mock eyes.
Yeah, like a butterfly or moth would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But they say like as illustrated at the right, and it's just concept art, so it doesn't show where the actual eyes are. So I think this person is just full of shit, and they haven't been corrected.
I would think they're eyes because you get eyes of death from them. Eyes of death that look just like the eyes, more or less, just kind of rotten.
Yeah.
I assume those are eyes. Huh.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Is a buckeye an eye? Nah, no, that's stupid. I'm being
It's okay.
fall into pedantry. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like that's really scarring this area. Like you just fall down and then it's a world of shit. But it's funny because like when you get out of this, it puts you closer to the exit than if you just went the regular way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. If you go human here, you also run into, so the game is also introducing its multiplayer elements through NPCs gradually. So in the last boss fight, with the gargoyles, you can summon Solaire, and here's the first time you get invaded by an NPC if you are human here.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I realized that NPCs would invade you as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's their way of kind of like keeping that element of danger to it, even if somebody's playing offline.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The NPC who invades you here is actually real interesting because he shows up a bunch of times. His name is like Kirk, Knight of Thorns or something like that.
Yep.
And he has this armor that will hurt you as you attack him because thorns.
Thorns, sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've gotten invaded by a couple people theme knighting as Kirk and just killing me by rolling into me and stuff. Like two spiked shields, one on each arm, and then just rolling into me a bunch. So I've definitely gotten invaded by some theme Kirks.
That's awesome.
Wait,
but everybody, when they fight this guy, you think that you have fought or like an actual human being, but he is actually, so, my friend Derek, I think, texted me, he's like, I fought off my first invader. I thought I fought off my first invader. And then you learn that like, no, actually real human players are much stronger than this.
Well, sometimes the first human player I fought and killed was a naked gentleman. Who invaded me and didn't seem, he hit me a couple times, but I managed to kill him. So,
well, it's kind of giveaway when it's Kirk, the Knight of Thorns, as opposed to Weed Boner 69.
Yeah, that's a good indication.
So
Dr. Bong, Dr. Bong 4040.
Man. So he shows up a couple more times, and there is actually some lore around him, which is pretty neat, but that is later. Yeah.
We didn't talk about the giant rat that you fight.
Yeah, I like the giant rat. He's huge, and you have that little moment with him with the fence where you see him through the fence. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's just like that. He's just like one of the rats that you've been fighting, but just ridiculously huge.
He's also, an interesting thing is he's blind.
Yeah.
So if you have the ring or the spell that makes you silent, he cannot see you or cannot, go aggro on you.
Interesting.
Other neat thing, if you look at his design, he has like an axe hanging out of him, so you're not the first person to attempt to fight him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the ledge above him has the spider shield, which is the thing that the bandit starts with.
Yeah.
So you can reasonably surmise that there was a bandit at one point that did a drop attack on his face and left his axe on there.
Yeah. That spider shield's real important for the next area.
How do you know?
Yeah.
They're still poisoned.
We're going to talk about that for a little bit. You can see yourself out of this.
Oh, man.
It is. I honestly have no idea how you're going to get through that without a shield, because that spider shield I used like nonstop.
Well, it's not a matter of principle. I'm just specking him. I'm specking her actually, so I could use as Vihander. I'm not obstinate. I'm not going to be like.
It was like a level 1 run through or something.
Actually, it is a level 1 run through.
Do it without the shield, man.
Yeah,
you try it once.
I will try it once. That's
give it a shot.
That's the rule. I'll give it a shot. But yeah, I'm not going to be like one of those psychopaths who's like, okay, only the broken sword hilt for me.
Plus 15.
Plus 15 sword hilt.
60 damage.
All right.
Yeah. So right before the Gaping Dragon, there's a merchant here, which is nice. Like I like it when they give you an opportunity to spend souls right before a boss.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He's kind of a weird merchant. Like he's from a far off land, and he mostly exists to sell you boss armor after you beat the boss.
Mm-hmm.
Like he sells like the special armor, like almost like trophies.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Up to and including the final boss of the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. In New Game Plus, he'll sell you. Well, I think that's alright. Didn't we already say that? He's in the beginning. It's not spoiler that you fight him. Yeah, you can cut it. I'll cut it out. Yeah. Somebody will cut it out.
Yeah. I'll put a marker down. No, so I
never get those markers. Like you put those markers down, and they don't do anything for me.
I send you the time codes.
I don't think you did that. This is really boring. Sorry.
Sorry.
That's okay.
This is not. I don't think you did last time. Is maybe what I'm thinking.
I apologize.
It's okay. It's not a big deal.
Let's get the put down a marker so we can cut this out. Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
His name is Don Hall, and he's real nice. Like he says, like, oh, if you don't buy anything, it's like, okay, we'll, you'll come back later. It's like, okay, cool. Everybody else is like, we'll fire on you, you piker or something, They're also from Shadowrun.
Or Planescape, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Pikers, or one of those.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And then the nearer to the boss.
Yes. The gaping dragon.
Yeah, so there's a lot to take in with this boss. I think it's fair to say that my personal favorite introduction of any boss in the game.
Tell us about it.
Well, okay, so it begins, you walk in this big room, and you see like a little lizard head. He's just like peering over the water. Oh, a cute little lizard head. And then out of the water comes essentially Vegeta Dentata personified. And it's insanity. Like I will, like, no one does dragons better than this game. Like, the dragons in this game look fucking unbelievable. I'm sorry, I don't know if you could say the F word.
We're fine.
Mark that too. But I love the introduction of this dragon, and I thought he was kind of a fun fight, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I know you guys think he has way too much HP, but I only played him. I didn't play him on New Game Plus or anything, so maybe that's the difference. But I thought he was kind of fun to fight.
It's a real confidence builder.
Yeah,
he's the biggest thing you've fought, and generally it'll take you a couple of tries. And it's just kind of like when you get through it, just kind of like awesome, right? I'm just this tiny little dude with a sword or a spear, and just like this guy went down.
Yeah, cutting his tail off is really satisfying.
Yeah.
I think it's a really fun fight too. I just think that once I kind of saw the strings and know how to take care of them, it just takes a long time. I might be thinking specifically of my like concept whip playthrough, which I literally just had to whip this guy, 600 times.
Oh my god!
Before he died, which was awful. He's also, he's very like. And the other thing too is that he's got a lot of hit points and he's not very difficult. I definitely died against him a couple times. But he's got very recognizable patterns and very recognizable tells.
Yeah.
But presentation-wise, he's top-notch. Like I love this boss fight. That cutscene in the beginning, I loved like the concept of this gigantic thing that's just this personification of hunger. And I like the what do you remember, Kole? Do you know which item actually talks about him? Because I know he's supposed to be this like weird element, like almost like a hunger elemental.
Yeah, I forget what item it is. So my perspective on his lore, at least from things that I've read, again, lore, is that he was an everlasting dragon who just couldn't stop eating. So, and then he was possessed or something like that. Just like this is what he turned into after he became undead or something like that.
And just becoming all mouth.
Yes.
And just I love that attack where you get kind of dragged under him. Mm-hmm. That you get raked under him is just so. And then he does a vomit attack, which is real. He's got his shoulders bunch up the same way my cat's does when he vomits.
When his head is down, like when he's like fully laid out, he kind of moves like a cockroach. He scuttles.
Yeah.
Which is real crazy, but he's real big too. So like an effective strategy would be just to play Toro with him. Just kind of like, okay, I'm going to lure you into this wall. He hits that and then you just go around. So in that way, it's kind of a generic video game boss fight if you decide to approach it that kind of way. But it subverts that because his weakest point is actually his fake head or his real head or whatever it is. Yeah.
And that's one of the ways the game is, or this level is kind of enforcing that resisting temptation, because in order to do damage to his weak spot, you're in the most vulnerable place. Like if you get greedy and try to take an extra shot at that point, you get hit by his most damaging attack, which is that kind of overrun ability. So you can only really get in a couple attacks on his head.
Yeah. Yeah. It's notable. That's not his mouth. It's his rib cage.
Oh.
Yeah. Like just splitting open and turning into a new mouth. Some people get uncomfortable at the word vagina. But I'm looking up to see what it is, but all of the sites are just boss tips. I'm not certain what item it is. Maybe it's his tail item.
It could have been that, or it could have also been something in like an interview book or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know exactly where I picked up that little bit of that little lorelet.
Yeah.
You can, if you want, you can summon help for this fight.
Yeah.
So you can summon Solaire and Lautrec. Do you have to summon Lautrec for the gargoyles for the summon sign to appear here?
I think that you do, because he wasn't available for me on this one.
Yeah.
This most recent playthrough.
And they give him more HP, but mostly just serve to be meat puppets, you know, for him to attack. Like, they don't do very much damage because they tend to stand right in front of him and get eaten.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I didn't really summon anyone for this.
Yeah. Let's see here. This axe, one of the rare dragon weapons, is formed by the tail of the gaping dragon, a distant, deformed descendant of the everlasting dragons. It is imbued with mystical power to be released when held with both hands. Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah. This is the first big dragon tail weapon you're going to get that you're not going to be able to use because you don't have enough strength for a long time. Yeah. But yeah, I also go ahead.
I was going to say, just like so many of those items, it's like you need to spec to use them.
Yeah.
So it's like I went through all that trouble just to get something I will never feasibly be able to hold.
But it has a mechanical advantage too. Like if you take away his tail, he loses an attack.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
then he just wags his stub back and forth, and it's depressing. He's like a wheelchair dog at that point.
Oh man. But yeah, you beat him. Oh man, I forget. Is there a cutscene after you beat him, or does he just dissolve into light and then go away?
Yeah, he just dissolves.
I don't recall, but yeah, I'll take your guys' word for it.
He dissolves into a key to Blightown.
Yes.
Yeah.
He ate that long ago. It was actually a regular key, and then through his gastrointestinal tract, kind of like that coffee that's eaten by cats, it turned into the key to Blightown. The fates are strange in that way. So
yeah, that's the depths. I would say, and I won't die on this hill. I haven't thought about it entirely, but this might be my favorite sewer level in a video game.
That's
well, yeah, sewer levels tend to be pretty awful, so that's not really saying that much. But yeah, I liked it.
I'm just imagining James Lipton and like interviewing the depths. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the NES.
Yeah, Earthbound. you have a lot of terrible contemporaries, depths, and you've risen above.
You've broken the cycle.
I think I might like the sewers from Super Mario RPG better.
Ooh, yeah, those are pretty good. Yeah.
There you go.
Huh.
Win.
Well, enough games have them that
yes,
like they're the odds are okay. It's statistically unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's Earthbound and Bloodlines. Just thinking about that, forever scarred by those sewer levels.
Yeah.
So, ugh.
And that's the depths. I mean, it's we have a doozy of an episode ahead of us. Me particularly.
Yeah,
I will be listening in and smiling silently.
Oh man, I'll be editing that one too. So if I do record myself, I will put in my reactions.
Yeah, we can record some cuts to like if you remember a point and you're like, yeah, this is what I sounded like when I,
No, don't say anything. Don't.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't want to prepare you.
I've poked my head into it, like to get the what's the pyromancy spell that's a really good buff? The
Power Within.
Power Within. Yeah, you have to get in there to do that.
But that's near the tail end.
Right. Yeah.
And coming at it from the other way is really how it's designed to fuck you over.
Yeah.
Yeah, having played Demon Souls since then, like I can't tell which is worse between like the Demon Souls equivalent. Have you ever played that game, Russ?
No, I haven't.
It's if you decide that you wanted to play more Dark Souls, like it's the closest thing we have. It's not quite as good, but it has an area called the Valley of Defilement. That is like the basis that Blightown is based upon, and the basis it's based upon.
Does the frame rate climb above 3?
The heady heights of 5.
Oh,
the frame rate is not the problem in the Valley of Defilement.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you can't roll or run, or you can run, but you cannot roll in the slime, and you're expected to fight enemies that can. So it is excruciating. Infuriating. But yeah, that's next episode.
Yep.
Cool.
And we'll be having Nick Glauber on. He is a personal friend of mine. He has a Twitch TV channel as well that he'll plug and everything like that. But he is a solid bro. We'll be guesting on that.
Yeah.
As we said at the beginning, this episode is brought to you by Audible.com. And for you, our dear listener, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/bonfiresidechat. Again, that's audibletrial.com/bonfiresidechat for your 100% absolutely no money required free audiobook.
Oh man, now you're gonna start a game of this is just gonna escalate, Gary. So, do we want to do the final admin housekeeping stuff?
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to that. As we kind of alluded to, the next area is going to be about Blightown, up through, let's say, either Quelaag or getting back through the Valley of the Drakes.
Let's say through the Valley of the Drakes, because we don't really have an opportunity to talk about the Valley of the Drakes.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah,
impulsively, next episode is Blightown and Valley of the Drakes.
Sounds good.
That's only a postage stamp.
I will amend our notes. Yes. Mm-hmm. So if you would like to play along with that, we definitely encourage you to do that. There are some things that you can do if you're listening to this. Obviously, rating and reviewing on iTunes if you are of the iTunes persuasion. We're still in new and noteworthy, which is real cool. We've gotten a lot of traction with this. So you people are out there, and we can't thank you enough for listening.
Thank you very much. We have a Facebook group if you'd like to join that. You can share your thoughts with us through www.Duckfeed.tv/contact. Those thoughts are shared in the appendix episode, which you'll hear next week. So we and Kole are going to record those here in just a moment. And but we do want to hear what you have to think about Blightown. So I'm expecting big things about that as well. Real quick announcement too. I've started on the YouTube channel I've started a Let's Play of Dark Souls. So if you're interested in that, if you go to youtube.com/watch out for fireballs, I've started they're going to be released day and date with the episodes from this show, and I'm playing through as an archer. Ooh. So I'm killing all bosses and trying to kill as many enemies as possible with a bow and arrow. So a little bit of a challenge run, a little bit of a normal run, but if you guys have any interest in that, definitely check it out.
Yeah.
And yeah, Russ, what do you have to plug?
Go to polygon.com and I might get paid. Let's see. Polygon.com, we just launched a new video series called Good Cop, Bad Cop, which you can find on our YouTube page or on polygon.com. And, you can follow me on Twitter at Russ Frushtick. And you can listen to the Besties. We release new episodes Friday afternoons. So,
Awesome.
That's about it.
I would recommend listening to that podcast.
Yes, thank you.
It is. It is definitely a must listen. We do some stuff too, just to cross promote here. Gary and I, we do a show, retro game show club thing called Watch Out for Fireballs. Our next episode is going to be about the last half of Final Fantasy Tactics. First half just came out, and then after that, we have lots of good stuff coming up. Gary does a show with his friend Brayton. It's called The Pitch, which is really, really funny. They have been on a roll. February was Love Month. Which is real good.
Yep. There's still one episode left of Love Month. So I think Our House is the name of it, but spelled like HOUR. It's sort of Our House in the middle of our street. Yeah, it's dumb, but there's some dumb jokes that get made on that podcast. That's fine. It's right in the beginning of that. I also have a show called Dead Idea Valhalla that's on the network that's running in reruns, but I do have a new episode coming out relatively soon, next couple weeks. Yeah. Kole does a couple of shows. If you like a general video game show, he does a show called The Level that is very good with some friends of his and mine. Guys talking about new games, what they've been playing, everything like that. It's very good. And then he does a comedy show with his brother called Those Damn Ross Kids, which is a delight. I always say it, if you enjoy hearing Kole being dressed down, I am not half as good at it as his brother is. So if that appeals to you, listen to Those Damn Ross Kids.
Yeah. So I think that about wraps up the plugs. Again, thank you so much for listening. And if we have any final advice, it would be that even though it's not quite visible from Blightown, you should praise the sun.
Praise the sun.
Praise the sun.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon